back. You know, we talked here a lot on the show about the debate over the use of tasers. Recently, we showed you a controversial video of police using a stun gun on an elementary school student. And tonight, that controversy almost sure to heat up again.
That's right. A woman in a wheelchair is dead after police used a taser gun to subdue her. Police in Florida say she was swinging knives and a hammer. The 56-year-old woman lost consciousness after the electric jolt. She later died. And police say they only used the taser after they got permission from the woman's family, and that the woman was allegedly threatening officers and family when they arrived. Well, the two officers involved have been put on paid administrative leave. The exact cause of death is currently under investigation. But friends of the victim are now wondering if maybe there weren't other options. And that's a question that seems to come up every time something like this happens. So here to help us answer that question and a few others is former police chief Richard Weinblatt. He's also a certified taser instructor and a criminal justice professor at Seminole Community College, north of Orlando. Great to have you with us tonight. First question here, when it comes to a taser, is there a specific set of guidelines or rules that is used throughout the country?
No. What happens is individual departments can set policies, and those policies generally follow court precedents. They follow guidelines and situations that have happened previously, and they generally adhere to a use of force matrix or a continuum, which just dictates at what point the officer steps things up.
Okay, so at what point then would an officer choose a taser gun to deal with a situation?
Well, the taser is actually very low on the use of force continuum, which surprises people. I myself have been shot by a taser, and
it hurts.
It certainly does. I've been pepper sprayed 6 times and shot by a taser once, and I'd rather be pepper sprayed again, to be honest with you. Taser does hurt, but the good thing about a taser is for the vast, vast majority, and there have been many, many applications of taser, including on myself, where the person gets back up and walks afterwards.
So for a normally healthy person, then there shouldn't be any after effects or even possibly nerve damage?
There should not be. There should not be. And of course, in this case, we don't know exactly what the situation is. The autopsy has to be done, and of course, the Florida Department of Law Enforcement has to conduct their independent investigation.
Absolutely. Now, when it comes to the deciding, as we mentioned, there was a case of a young child, a taser gun used against a young child. Is there an age limit here, or are there guidelines when it comes to a person's health or how their health may be perceived that dictates when it may or may not be a good idea to use a taser?
Well, there is no guideline in terms of state. In Florida, there was a bill that recently fell by the wayside where they were trying to make it so that officers could not taser anybody under the age of 16. That fell by the wayside because it's very restricted. There is not a one-size-fits-all. And the sad truth about law enforcement in America is that law enforcement officers at some time have to use force.
Sure.
And that's just a fact. They have to use force. The key is to train them so they use force in an appropriate manner. So, and of course, that's what the investigation is going to look into, is whether that happened here or not.
Absolutely, and we'll learn more about that once that information is made public. So when you're teaching an officer to use a taser gun, what do you teach them? What's the most important lesson that you give them?
Well, one of the things we teach them, and one of the reasons why we encourage officers to be tasered themselves, is so they understand it and they get a sense of compassion, much like we encourage officers to be pepper sprayed themselves so they understand the application of the pepper spray and how it will affect other people, to develop compassion for those that they then have to use this on, and they can use it judiciously.
So is there ever a time that an officer would say, I absolutely can't use a taser in this case, and what would the other options be?
Well, that's one of the things that we teach them now. Being a pepper spray instructor and a taser instructor, it's similar animals. We look at, if you have a plan A, you have to look for a plan B, because the taser does not work on every person, and pepper spray does not work on every person, as I myself have found out. Sometimes it just really irritates people.
That makes it worse.
It does make it worse. So you've got to have a plan B if plan A doesn't work. And that's a good law enforcement rule of thumb anyway.
All right, some great information tonight. Thanks for clearing some of those questions up for us. Richard Weinblatt, thanks.